Hey, this is Ree here. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. It really helps me a lot. Don't forget to check out my website, paradoxastrology.com. Book your consultation today. Eclipse season is coming up. I can help you with anything. And if you'd like more exclusive occult videos that I don't post on YouTube, consider subscribing to my Patreon. It also helps support this channel. Okay, let's get into this video. So today we're going to talk about Saturn's retrograde transit into Dhanishta. So this will be happening on October 14th. Then on November 4th, Saturn will station direct, and then it will start going direct motion into Dhanishta. That will happen until November 24th when it goes back into Shabahista. So currently it is retrograding in Shabahista because Shabahista has to do with health. One of the things that we did see is the weight loss drug. Because Saturn is loss, it can be things that are diminished, and it is a sacrifice or loss. And a lot of people losing weight all of a sudden, that becoming very popular trend as opposed to the more curvy trends that we saw in the past. Especially because Saturn's in Aquarius, which is the masses, the population. So Saturn will be going into Dhanishta. Now, this is going to create something completely different than what we were seeing. It's mostly going to go into the fourth pada, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So it's not going to go all the way. The fourth pada is from 320 to 640 degrees. So we're going to see it go in that pada only. If you have planets in that pada, yes, definitely you'll feel this. If you have planets in Dhanishta, you will feel this too, but more likely when they're between these degrees. Its alternative name is Ishravishta in Sanskrit, which translates into the most heard of, or also the most famous. The drum is a symbol, so it has anything to do with rhythm and timing. This is why we see a lot of artists who have this placement as well. A lot of people in the music industry who have this. It's the universal rhythm. That's why sometimes it translates into music. The rhythm that we have is going to slow down as Saturn goes into Dhanishta. So this allows us to greatly attune ourselves to the universal mind. This allows us to practice a more precise timing. When you first start learning an instrument, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this, you start out very slow because that's the best way. You got to start slow, and then once you learn, you can start doing it a lot faster. It becomes a lot easier for you. Dhanishta is ruled by Mars, so it's used to going fast. That's why it has this fast rhythm. So Saturn is going to slow it down, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything negative. Now, this is all going to be dependent on your karma, which I will explain. But when we slow down, that helps us be more precise in the instrument. Have you ever, maybe you played an instrument and you started doing it really fast, but then you kind of messed up on a few notes. Then you slow it down, then you get the right timing again, then you can go faster. This nakshatra, as I said, is ruled by Mars. So it's used to that fast rhythm. We're just slowing it down to fine-tune our skills. So do not push against it. It does not mean that you're losing your skill. It does not mean anything like that. It just means that you're perfecting it. Music is produced through hollowness, like an instrument, like a flute, like a drum. And sometimes we have to slow it down in order to hear what it's actually feeding us from within. The music industry could slow down, as it has been in certain genres, such as hip-hop. It's time to reevaluate what's working and what's not. Saturn is also karma, so this is a time where you will see some could have a heightened wealth due to their own personal karma. Now, this is really going to depend on your personal chart. Mars, which is the ruler of Dhanishta, and then Saturn going into it. Now, Mars and Saturn combinations give us and give a person a very laser precise focus onto their goals. So if this is you and you have been very focused on your goals and patient, then this could be where you gain. If you are the person who knows how to take action with perseverance and patience, this is when you can gain. So these types of people with the Mars Saturn, They can work for hours and not realize that they didn't eat, they didn't sleep, because they were just so focused on the goal. It's like time disappears. It is the best time to have this laser focus so you can use it for your advantage. Now, the opposite is some may feel like their wealth is suppressed, or it could be delayed, or that it has slowed down. But remember, this is only so you get back onto rhythm. Is ruled by Shiva and the Taraja posture, which you can see right here. It has a lot to do with action and patience. So that's why we need to combine these energies together. If you find yourself feeling like things have to get done now, that's the Mars trying to overtake the Saturn, and the Saturn will correct it. Impatience or being aggravated, those are the things that we're going to have to control. You got to ask yourself these questions. Were you stubborn and vain on this project you've been working on, or in your life, in your relationships as well? Or were you invincible and confident? Are you a warrior fighting for the good of humanity? Saturn will reward the latter and punish the former. Were you deceptive in order to get your way? Were you indulgent or selfish? Or were you charitable and reliable to your fellow man? Saturn will reward the latter and punish the former, because the former will have lessons to learn. Now, this position is very dharmic. Were you living for what's best in the world according to your path is crucial. That's dharma. If not, Saturn will adjust this. This is what Saturn does, gets us back on our path. The karma comes from the actions we have been taking. That's what karma is. So that is up to you. Now, problems can arise in marriages and relationships, and this could be personal or business. Mars will be in Libra with Ketu, so it's going to activate that Mars, which can cause separation. The problems arise when we choose people who are way too different from our beliefs and our personalities, and this causes ego clashes. It's okay to be with someone who's different, but if you're completely different people, then it's not going to work. The energies don't vibe. It's not living your dharmic truth. Some may even take a break from relationships and go into celibacy. So Dhanishta has a lot to do with celibacy because of the stories in the scriptures, and a lot to do with relationships and breakups. It's not very well known for being good in relationship matters, let's say. So it gives a lot of wealth, it gives a lot of abundance, but there usually is some form of relationship problems. Not for everyone, but it can be. Some may find that a past life partner comes back to teach them. This would probably be someone that you find very attractive. You're very attracted to this person, and they're going to help you on your path. So that's another thing that can happen with the Mars with the K2 right there. And some will have to learn through challenges. Now, this relationship, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a great relationship. We attract relationships from past lives, and everyone thinks, oh, it's from past lives, it's my soulmate. Well, it could be your soulmate that has to teach you through challenges as well. The highest manifestation of this Nakshatra is tuning in to the God rather than the physical instrument. This will be where your answers come from. Saturn is sadhana. So Saturn is your meditation practice, your rituals, your spiritual practices. So the best way to do this is use your spiritual practices to tune in to the divine, to tune in to the God sense, and you will get your answers as these things slow down. Use Mars's action to go into sadhana. So this can be a period where when you have this Mars Saturn, I know this personally because I have that in my D9, you are able to meditate for hours without your ego interrupting you. You just have that laser focus. So use this to be completely focused on your spiritual matters, the universal mind, and it will give you the answers you require. Now, one thing we should be cautious with the retrograde in Dhanishta is because in November 2022, Saturn was in Dhanishta, but this was in Capricorn and not Aquarius. So there is a possibility this doesn't happen, but I wanted to bring it up. That's when we saw the FTX collapse. and it involved all the wealthiest people in the world, which is what Dhanishta is, finance and the most famous. So we had people like Tom Brady who was promoting this, and all these people apparently lost money. Well, I don't know if the celebrities did, but definitely the general public did. So this is just a caution for that. It is a possibility. We don't know. I looked back in the past. There hasn't been any collapses when it was in Dhanishta previously in Aquarius, but who knows? With the eclipse, it's looking like that is a possibility, especially in the US, of some kind of financial hardships. Also, another thing is to be aware that in 1993, when this was occurring in this same place, when Saturn was in the same place, there was an earthquake in Japan that triggered a devastating tsunami. I think we should be cautious always around the eclipses for earthquakes and disasters as well. So that is another possibility. For the world, we could actually see a slowdown as we reevaluate our desires, a slowdown in prosperity. And remember, this isn't for very long. Don't stress about that or anything, and it depends on your chart. Now, challenges that arise, you will be able to resolve them and move on, because these challenges will be emphasized by the eclipse, which will be happening, the solar eclipse on October 14th, which will be in Chitra. The Mars will be right near the K2 and be involved in this as well, which is giving us a sense that there's something that we have to let go of that may be unexpected, but we can gain as well afterwards. Now, during that period, it will be a period where you don't really know what's happening, because when we have the solar eclipse, it's going to make things dark. Then we have the lunar eclipse, which will give us the light, which will give us the information that we need. So if anything happens and this Saturn retrograde goes into Dhanishta right after the eclipse, these things are very intertwined. If you don't know what to do at this point, just wait and you'll know what to do by the 28th. Remember that all of this is to reevaluate so that we can come out of this a lot more stronger. Also, this will be involving Libra. So Libra can have to do with the marketplace, relationships, law, and business. That's just a little bit about that. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one.